Jim Durrett,
Present.
Roderick Edmond,
Present.
Bill Floyd,
Present.
Roderick Farson,
Present.
Ryan Glover, Jerry Griffin,
Present.
Frida Hardage,
Present.
Alicia Ivy,
Present.
Russell McMurray, Al Pond,
Present.
Rita Scott,
Present.
Christopher Tomlinson, Thomas Worthy, Madam Chair, we have 11 board members participating.
Thank you. Our first matter is to get approval for the minutes of the October 8th work session of the Board of Directors.
Move for approval, Alpine.
Second, Griffin.
Are there any abstentions? Are there any that are opposed?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I don't know if it's a problem with my computer, but I only got 6 pages of the minutes. I don't know if that was just they added some extra pages to it or what.
Can you look at it online?
Yes, One second.
Okay.
Okay. Work session, yeah. I couldn't tell if that was just all of them and the extra pages were in there. I won't hold you up. Go ahead. We can, I will just abstain from the voting right this second.
Okay. Are there any no's? Okay, the minutes are approved. I have a few announcements. I've reached out and appointed a nominating committee for the 2021 board officers. Each jurisdiction has a representative, so I want to thank Jerry Griffin, who has agreed to chair the committee, Rod Edmond, Rita Scott, and Al Pond, who have all agreed to serve on the committee. And thank you very much. We appreciate the time you're going to give in assisting us with these nominations. And then we'll hear back from that nominating committee in December. On another note, the 2020 Executive Board has been holding interviews to fill the request for proposal for the General Counsel. We're making progress on this project, and we plan to bring it to the board in December with a recommendation. Some committee meetings that you need to mark your calendars for. Thursday, November 19th, starting at 9:30, will be when we have the planning and capital programs, the operations and safety, the business management, and this month, external relations. And then our audit committee will meet on Friday, November 20th at 10 o'clock. There will be jurisdictional briefings on December 1st is going to be a busy day because we have DeKalb at 9 a.m. and then we have Clayton in the evenings, and that is actually, if you want, the DeKalb is virtual, Clayton is in person and virtual both, and theirs will also be on December 1st at 6:30. And then the next morning on December 2nd at 10 a.m. is Fulton County. And then the next work session of Board of Directors will be Thursday, December 10th at 12 noon. And we do not have committee meetings the month of December. Any questions or comments?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes.
With regard to Fulton County's jurisdictional meeting, is that virtual?
Yes, it is virtual.
Yes.
The only one that is live at all is Clayton County. All of them are. Okay, you're welcome. All right, then I'm going to turn it over to the general manager, Mr. Parker.
Thank you. I hope everyone is well. Good to see you all. I have a few items that I do want to speak about. One is to give you really more of a heads up. We will be giving some formal notice to the board about a impending evolution of our leadership change. David Springstead, who is the Chief of Rail Operations and a longstanding employee at MARTA, I believe he's been here for about 25 years, had notified me a couple of weeks ago that he is planning on retiring somewhere around the end of the month. Dave has been just a key part of my team, and both professionally and a longstanding friend. I don't know if everyone knows this, but when I worked here at MARTA back in 2005, Dave and I were peers. We worked very, very closely together running operations, and we've stayed in touch over the years. And it was good to know that he was in a key role at MARTA when I returned, and it was good to put him into the position of overseeing rail operations. Dave has done a tremendous job, as you've heard him present, around his passion to transform the way we manage our stations and the leadership team within our stations. So he's made tremendous progress on that. I am having a conversation with him about making sure that we have an effective transition for two important projects, and that one is the station transformation, and the other is the rail car project that Dave has really been shepherding, both since we've awarded it to Stadler as well as we were procuring the contract. So with Dave's departure, and he's committed to me to maybe extend that for a period of time in order to make sure that we have an orderly transition. But the evolution is really about changing the way we're managing operations, and this has been something that I have been anticipating. We recruited and hired Collie Greenwood a little over a year ago. Collie joined us and running bus operations, but with the full intention of whenever Dave was in a position that he wanted to retire, that Collie, I always believed and truly know now that Collie will be very capable of increasing his roles and responsibility and taking over the responsibility for rail as well as bus operations. We did create some deputies under Dave and Collie. So George Wright, who's the deputy chief for rail operations, would eventually report right to Collie, and Santiago will continue to work for Collie as the deputy chief for bus operations. So we will be giving the board some formal notification of that as Dave kind of finalizes his details. But I thought it was such an important thing that I didn't want people to just sort of hear about this through the grapevine, so to speak. So unless there are any specific questions about that future change, I wanted to, any questions or comments that folks wanted to share?
Hey, Jeff, this is Chris. I'm sorry if I missed it.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier. Do you know the date of this change?
End of the year. Yeah,
Okay.
so December 31st.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jeff, I would like to say that I have had, it's been a pleasure for me to work in my role at MARTA and to have such a terrific partner as Dave. He has been an exemplary employee, and I've always found his attitude and his willingness to solve problems to be exactly what we need at MARTA. And I'll miss him, but I wanted everybody to know that I always found him to be a very valuable member of the executive leadership team, and I will miss him.
Appreciate that, and I share your sentiments.
Jeff, let me say, and Ms. Ivey, as the board team that works with operations and safety, the one thing that makes me feel somewhat comfortable with this change in leadership is the way that we have seen him work with the people that work for him. You know, he puts forward his staff and people in his organization make presentations to the board, which I think is very important. So he's pushed his deputies and assistants to step up to the plate, and I think that will bode well for the future too, that we do have depth.
Absolutely.
Jeff, this is Frida. I just want to say it's been a pleasure to work with Dave, and it's with mixed emotions anytime we lose a valuable person on our team, but it's we appreciate the fact that he's doing it the way he's doing it and giving us an opportunity to transition and make it a good fit for both himself and MARTA, and we wish him well.
Yeah, yeah.
Beth, Alicia Ivy, I just wanted to say very quickly that David's leadership has been second to none, and I have personally enjoyed working with him each and every step of the way. And like my colleague Jerry Griffin has said, with operations and safety, he has really done a phenomenal job, and we are eternally grateful to him.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. And we will do some formal recognition for him at one of the board meetings. So the other issues that I have, I'm going to ask Liz O'Neill to present. The first one is a recommendation that we intend on bringing to a future committee meeting, but we thought that it was important to share this with the board now, allow the board to kind of hear about some recommended changes that we would like to present to the board, have an opportunity to ask some questions. There's some further outreach that we're doing that Liz will talk about, but this is specifically about some changes to our conflict of interest policy that the board has adopted, and I think that this will put us in a position so that we have some very clear guidelines and really potentially completely eliminate the need for any waivers that are being done, that have been done on occasion. So Liz, if you could step us through this proposal.
Sure, thank you.
Proposal. We're not asking the board to take any action today, so go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Parker. Good afternoon, Chair Hartage and board members. What we're talking about here is actually section 13 of the Code of Ethics, and I believe you have a copy of what's being proposed on the screen now, and also should have received an email with the proposed change this morning. And so this section of the code involves contracts, former employees going to work for other entities. And the purpose of the section was to provide that former MARTA employees do not use their any knowledge or influence that they may have had during their employment with MARTA to profit from their entering into future employment. So as the code section now reads, there is a 1-year prohibition with MARTA doing business with entities that employ a former MARTA employee within a year from that employee leaving MARTA. What we are proposing is really to have a graduated kind of prohibition depending on the activities of the employee while they are at MARTA. So if there was an employee who was very involved in a certain procurement, either being on the source evaluation committee or making the determination to make adjustments to a contract during that procurement, that individual would have a 1-year cooling off period before going to work for that vendor, or the vendor would be in essence prohibited from employing that individual for a year. There also would be a lifetime prohibition on that former employee working on that particular procurement that they were so involved with while a MARTA employee. And then the second prohibition would really go to ensuring that a contractor would not use any former MARTA employee on a MARTA project for a 1-year period from that person leaving the authority. And that's really, they could go to work for that contractor, but they would not be able to work on any MARTA project for that 1-year period, and it would be reduced to a 6-month period for MARTA employees who may have left the authority due to reduction in force. And so the reason there are a couple of reasons why this change is being suggested. I think it's an acknowledgement that there are certain employees who have much more involvement in procurements, and so their ability to use the knowledge they may have acquired while at MARTA is much greater. There are others that would have had minimal exposure to contractors, and so to a lesser extent, they would not profit from going to their prior employment, be an inducement for a contractor to hire them. This is also the provision of the code section that has generated the most requests for waiver to you all as a board. And I think there have been some discomfort with the idea that we have a code of ethics and yet we grant waivers from that code. And so this just more clearly defines what we would propose to be considered conflicts, and then avoid the necessity of that that waivers having to be granted on individual requests. And Jeff mentioned that this is what we have done as far as outside folks looking at it. We have the MARTA Board of Ethics. We're sharing this with them to get their input on what they think about these proposed suggestions. And that is the essence of the change that's being proposed.
Yeah, so just to, just in summary, what we're trying to do is eliminate the need for waivers, and ultimately strengthen the requirements and limitations around the conflict of interest around areas where we see direct involvement in a contract or with a contractor. And then, we do have, because the current policy really applies to everyone just in case, just because of your employment, not because of your involvement in a contract. We would be, reducing that, where a conflict doesn't exist, because there was no involvement in a contractual relationship. We would be reducing that level of conflict of interest, and allowing a employee to do some work. So.
Hey, y'all, this is Dr. Edmond, and I know we don't have the benefit of the entire document right here, but first of all, I think that these, the clarifying these rules is important. I applaud all the people who put in the work to do this. But is there anything in this document dealing with what happens if there are infractions? I mean, it's good to parse out rules and the like, but the detraction will cause people to change behavior or not to go down that road is knowing what the penalty will be. Do we have any language? Is there a section in this document dealing with penalties for infractions?
So, sorry, Jeff, you want to?
Yeah, I'll let Liz kind of fill in the details, but the way this is enforced, what we're proposing is the enforcement would be done the same way the current policy is enforced, and that's with the relationship that we have with the vendor. So an active vendor would be putting at risk their contract with us if they were to hire someone in a way that violated this policy, which is how it is enforced today. Is that right, Liz?
Yes, that's correct.
I guess the scenario that I'm thinking about is when you have, and this happens all the time, when you have vendors who've done business with MARTA, over a long history. You've got people who work for MARTA for a long period of time. They go and they basically go and start working with this company who at the moment does not have any business with MARTA, but there's a contract that's coming up within a month or two that they're getting ready to buy for. That's what I think would probably be the more prolific scenario. What are your thoughts about that?
So this would cover those situations as well, because it would have to, the provision applies to folks who are already doing business with MARTA or are applying to do business with MARTA. So there would be then the same prohibition. They have to fill out our conflict of interest document or attachment when they do submit a proposal, and that is one of the specific areas that they would have to disclose, and then that would disqualify them.
So the intent here is that a person who leaves MARTA would have, in effect, a cooling off period where they would not be able to, to represent a third party and come, in front of MARTA. So I think that is part of the strengthening that we're trying to do, because I don't think the current policy really addresses that situation. I guess it does, because they have to identify, a contractor is identifying any former employees that they're employing. Is that right, Liz?
Yes, within that have been employed within that 1 year period.
But Dr. Edmonds, the real intent here is to create this clear cooling off period that if someone was to leave MARTA, they may not be restricted in going to work for a company that's doing business with MARTA, as long as they've had no involvement in any of the contracts. But they would have, they would be restricted from coming back and representing that company for MARTA, for example. So we are trying to, I think, deal with the issue that you raised the current concern about, as I understand it.
Jeff, this is Alicia Ivy. I just have one kind of for clarity. I just wanted to receive some clarity on how does the Office of Diversity and Inclusion fit in this? Because I know that all of the contracts are touched in procurement by this office. Can you explain what would be, the parameters for anyone working in that office, please? Both you and Liz.
Yeah, Liz, do you want to help with that that case? How that work in that department would be defined as oversight or involvement in a contract.
So for somebody, I think who is in the diversity and inclusion office, that probably, because they are, similarly to, I think, folks in legal or contracts, they are involved in just about every procurement that the authority has. So that would probably be that 1 year period where they could not do MARTA work. They could go work for the contractor, but not do MARTA work, if that's what you were asking.
Yes, thank you. I just want to make sure, because I know I'm looking just strictly at procurement, and I know often many times people don't associate that office with procurement, although they are involved in every procurement that we have.
Right, yeah.
Madam Chair. Liz, Jeff, may I ask a question?
Sorry, I was muted.
I apologize if you've already covered this. Have we talked to the ethics committee about this already? we gotten a recommendation from them?
We don't have a recommendation. After we had mentioned this the other day that they're going to review it, but we haven't gotten a determination or feedback yet.
Okay.
So yeah, we just wanted to share this with the board, get some feedback, and we will be taking this to a future committee meeting, and we will make sure that we've gotten their feedback, that we've incorporated their feedback into this, and then when we present it in a formal way to the board, we will summarize that to you, so you have a clear understanding of what that important group has to say about this recommendation. I think that's important.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Hey, I got on late and forgive me for that, but you may have covered this, but have we, I feel like this would probably be an important thing to get some external stakeholders input on. Do we have any plans on that? Just in the interest of transparency.
So, when we were first coming up with these proposals or the recommended changes, we did have an outside firm look at how other entities handle this type of a situation and get their recommendation, base these recommendations on their research. And then at the moment, other than the Board of Ethics, we have not asked for any other input.
That answers my question. Perfect. Thanks.
Any other comments or questions?
Sorry, just to follow up on Thomas's comment, I mean, I do think it's worthwhile. I mean, I don't know if we're going to have, whether it's Representative Silcox or if she is found to have not been reelected after the recount, then whoever gets appointed next. But we periodically have suffered misimpressions, I think, of some of our actions. Mm-hmm. And this is a sensitive, the idea of contractors and conflict of interest is a sensitive enough one. I would rather us err on the side of briefing the MARTA chair in advance of making this change and seeing if we get hard pushback versus informing them that we have made the change and hoping that they don't mind.
I think that's a good recommendation, and we'll do that.
And Robbie, I just like the MARTA, and I'm drawing a blank at the moment, but so MARTA is represented on the Board of Ethics. The chair appoints a member. I can't remember offhand who that member is right now, but so.
But we will do both. We'll go to our ethics board as well as speaking directly to the chair, who's as we all know, is currently Representative Silcox. So. All right.
Anything else? All right, Jeff. Thanks.
Yeah, and as you read this, feel free to reach out to myself or Liz with specific questions, comments, concerns. This is something that's still evolving, and we want to get this right in a way that protects the authority before we take it to a committee. So. The next issue that Liz and Donna Jennings will talk about is our liability insurance. I'm sure no one will be surprised by the unfortunate fact that instability in the insurance markets have, presented us with really the inability to continue to design our insurance program in the way that we have for quite some time. I don't know, Liz, how long we've had this sort of strategy of several policies and that start at $5 million. But Liz and Donna will take you through sort of where we are with the market, and then make you aware of kind of how we're intending and would ultimately like to get your approval on a redesign of our liability insurance. So go ahead.
Thanks, Jeff. So this currently our insurance excess insurance program is structured, and I think I'm going to give the larger overview, and then Donna can certainly answer any of the more technical questions that you might have. But our excess liability insurance program has been structured the way it is currently for probably at least 15 to 20 years. And so as it is currently structured, MARTA has a $5 million retention, self-insured retention, and then a variety of excess layers up to $150 million limit. So as we went to the various insurance markets this year through our broker Marsh, one of the things we learned is that several of the insurers who had participated in providing insurance for transit entities have withdrawn from the market, so there are fewer participants in the market. And then the idea of having a $5 million self-insured retention for a company that operates rail and a large bus fleet has disappeared. So there is no company currently willing to write that for that level starting at $5 million. It has now, with just one exception, gone up to requiring a $10 million self-insured retention. There is one company out there that would write a retention with the lower limit or a program with the lower limit being a $7.5 million self-insured retention, but at a cost of over $1.2 million per year. And as we've done the kind of return on investment analysis, we don't believe that given the high premium rate associated with that, essentially the difference of $2.5 million in insurance, that it would be worth it for us to go with that $7.5 million self-insured retention. Instead, we are recommending that we move to a $10 million self-insured retention. We were able to, and believe we will be keeping our cap of having $150 million of insurance in place. But even going to the $10 million self-insured retention, we currently pay $6 million for our excess liability insurance. We are still actively participating in the market, and but currently the upper limit of what we believe the premium will be was going to rise to about $8.7 million. So that is over a $2 million increase in our costs. And I think it's in large part due to there's been a number of very large verdicts out there during the past few years, and as they do, insurance companies are protecting their interests. So we will bring this to it's our intent to bring this to the Business Management Committee next week with an outside limit of what we anticipate the premium to be, and then the brokers will continue working and negotiating with the markets and bring it to the full board, again, with an outside limit being proposed at the December board meeting. So be happy, or Donna and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about that.
Liz, is the retention level per claim?
It's per occurrence, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh. I'm not surprised at what's happening, but that's quite an increase.
It is, yes.
But juries in Fulton County and the metro area seem to be very responsive to plaintiff attorneys.
Liz, this is Rod Fryer, sir. So when we look at this type of coverage that exists in the marketplace, did that just appear just this year? I mean, we had it last year, so it just kind of went away for this year going forward?
Yes, this is the first year we've have not been able to get that 5 million retention covered.
Okay. Okay. And so when we went to the marketplace, it was only for a year. It wasn't for beyond that. It was just a yearly. Every year we went into the marketplace to do this.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Hey, Liz Alpine, I have a quick question for you. Off the top of your head, if you could think back over the last 2 or 3 years, how many times have we exceeded the 5 million?
So we have not actually paid out over the 5 million. We had one case where we did settle, but then we were able to recover the extra 5 million from the as a workers' comp issue with the claimants workers' comp carrier. But so we have not actually paid out over the 5 million. You know, we do have a couple of we have a large jury verdict that we're appealing now out there, and we also we have a couple of significant other cases too, but to date we have not paid out over the 5 million. One of the things we're also considering is, given this adjustment, if at some point it might be in our interest to set up an insurance reserve fund. Mr. Parker has thought about this. We have one already. We're required to keep a $10 million reserve, railroad reserve fund. And so, whether we're still examining and studying whether it would be in our interest to set up another such kind of a reserve fund.
Liz, this is Roberta. I may be piggybacking off Mr. Pond's question, but I'm just wondering, how many times have we had to use this particular fund or use this particular entity at all?
So we haven't actually to date paid out over the $5 million.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Jeff, what else?
Yeah, so that's it from
Frida.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Me and Mute, we're having a little issue today. Just a quick question for Liz. Are you saying that it was never available in a multi-year coverage?
I'll actually defer that one to Donna.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yes, Ms. Scott, that's correct. Insurance carriers that write coverage for our type of risk are not currently offering multi-year deals for any type of liability coverage at this time. And that's due to the just upheaval in the insurance marketplace right now. They're just not offering those kinds of deals.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Jeff?
Yeah, that's the end of my report. I do know that we do need to go into executive session, so I will conclude my report.
Okay, and if you'll notice at the bottom of your report, you also added the Riders Advisory
I'm sorry.
Council.
Yeah, I apologize about that.
It's the same announcements that I made, but there is the Riders Advisory Council.
You're right about that. So December 2nd will be our next Rider Advisory Council, and the chairwoman did mention the dates of the jurisdictional briefing, so I won't go over those.
Okay, I need a motion for us to move into executive session for the purposes of, I want to make sure I did this correct.
Litigation.
Litigation. I thought that was it. Okay,
Worthy moves.
Second, Ivy.
Okay, any opposition? All right, we'll need to log off and go to the executive session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Chris Tomlinson. Just wanted to confirm I'm on the right link for the board meeting as well as the start time.
Hey, Chris, I just so happen not to have gone over yet. We're starting back up at 1:30, man.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Jerry, regarding our brief conversation a while ago. I was filling out a form yesterday, I believe it was, and I had to put down my age on the form, and my choices were middle-aged or elderly. And I thought, there's nothing in between?
Mr. Durrett,
Yep.
this is Marie. The YouTube for the work session is still streaming live.
Okay.
So all your conversation is being broadcast via the YouTube.
Thank you very much for warning me.
You're very welcome.
I still think it's funny.
So what did you fill out?
I believe I put middle-aged.
Good man.
Madam Chair, it's now 1:30. Would you like me to call the roll? Madam Chair?
Yes, please.
Okay. Roberta Abdul Salam,
Present.
Robert Ash. Robert Ash. Tim Dorrit,
Present.
Roderick Edmond,
Here.
Bill Floyd,
Here.
Roderick Firestone,
Present.
Ryan Glover,
Present.
Jerry Griffin,
Present.
Frida Hardage,
Present.
Alicia Ivy,
Present.
Russell McMurray,
Present.
Al Pond,
Present.
Rita Scott,
Present.
Christopher Tomlinson,
Present.
Thomas Worthy, Madam Chair, we have 13 board members present.
We have ended the work session and we're moving into the meeting of the Board of Directors of MARTA. I'm Frida Hardage, the current chair, and we first need to hear our public comment. Ms. O'Neill, do we have any public comment today?
Yes, Chair Hardage, we have received 2 public comments at this time. We have received one from Ed Williams, and we have received another from City Council Member Cleta Winslow. Both of you all should have received both of these comments via an email, and we will also attach them to the minutes of this meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. And then we'll send out the results of once we have reached out, if there's any further discussion.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The next item is a resolution that was presented last month authorizing the chair of the MARTA Atlanta Rapid Transit Authority Board of Directors to execute an amendment to the general manager CEO employment agreement to extend the term of the agreement and effectuate various changes. Do I have a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, excuse me. We didn't do approval of the minutes.
I'm so sorry, Miss Roberta. I apologize. Do we have approval of the minutes for the October 8th, 2020 meeting of the MARTA Board of Directors?
I'll move approval, Jim.
Second. Roberta seconds.
Are there any abstentions? Are there any no votes? Okay, the minutes are approved. Now, if we can go with item number 2, which is the resolution that was just read to you. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, Jim.
Alpond, second.
Okay, do we need any discussion? All right, are there any abstentions to this? Are there any no votes? Okay, the resolution is approved unanimously. And Mr. Parker, would you like to make a comment?
Yeah, thank you, Chairwoman Hardage. I want to thank you personally. I want to thank the entire board. It has been a pleasure to work for this agency, to work for this board. I think we've done a tremendous amount of good work. But more importantly, we have a tremendous amount of good work to do for the region and for transit in general. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank the leadership team at MARTA for all their support and their continued hard work, particularly through this trying time that has been COVID-19 and all that has gone on this year. So I just want to personally thank you all for the confidence that you have in me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. We'll now hear from the Planning and Capital Programs Committee. Dr. Edmond?
Yes, the Capital Programs Committee met on November 2nd, 2020 and approved the following resolutions. It was a resolution authorizing an increase in the contractual authorization for vibration acoustical consulting services. There was also a resolution authorizing the solicitation of proposals for the procurement of job order contracting 3.0 program RFP 47533. And lastly, a resolution authorizing the solicitation of proposals for the procurement of specialized professional services RFP 47520. I respectfully request approval of these resolutions.
Second, Jim Durrett.
Any discussion? Do we have any abstentions? Do we have any no votes? Your resolutions are approved, Dr. Edmond.
All right, that concludes my report.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the Operations and Safety Committee. Mr. Griffin.
Madam Chair, the Operations and Safety Committee met on November the 2nd, 2020 and approved the following resolutions. A, resolution authorizing the rejection of bids received for the procurement of bus midlife overhaul labor, IFB B44856, and B, resolution authorizing the procurement of body-worn cameras for the MARTA Police Department. Madam Chair, I ask to table Resolution B, and I request approval of Resolution A.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Are there any abstentions? Any no votes?
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Yes.
The reason behind tabling E?
Madam Chair, some issues have come up and the department asked us to hold this. We will probably have it back before the board next month. But for the time being, there was a couple of technical details that we need to work out.
Thank you.
Are there any abstentions? Are there any no votes? The resolution is approved.
The committee received the following briefings: briefing on fire safety and briefing on bus rail and operations KPI update. Madam Chair, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. We'll now hear from the Business Management Committee. Mr. Frierson.
Madam Chair, the Business Management Committee met on November 2020 and approved the following resolutions. A, resolution authorizing the solicitation of proposals for the procurement of consulting services for the group benefit plans, RFP P46683. Resolution B, a resolution authorizing the modification of a contractual authorization for additional funds for the multifunctional printers, lease and maintenance service, RFP P33231, and C, a resolution authorizing the solicitation of proposals for the procurement of multifunctional printers, lease and maintenance, RFP P47640. I request approval of these resolutions.
Is there any discussion?
Second from Jim Durrett.
Thank you, Jim. Do we have any abstentions? Are there any?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'm sorry, my button is late. Just a question for clarity. Is it that if item B doesn't pass, then would it be funds available elsewhere for item C? Just a question.
So it's my understanding that there would be. I think one of these has to do with finishing up a current contractual relationship that we have. And once that is ended, we'll be entering into another one. Okay. So that has not been a concern when we talked about that in the committee.
Thank you. Just for clarification.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any abstentions? Are there any no votes? Okay, Mr. Frierson, your resolutions are approved.
The committee received the briefing on technology and debriefing year-end fiscal year 2020 financial highlights and key financial performance indicators. Madam Chair, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Frierson. And now I'll call on Ms. O'Neill for her resolution.
Thank you, Chair Harden. I have a resolution requesting approval of the settlement of an action entitled Marquise Gamble against MARTA, civil action number 2019 CV-324007, and I'm requesting approval in the amount of $250,000.
So move.
Second,
Further move
Ivy.
approval.
That was moved by Ms. Abdul Salam. Where was our second?
Ivy, thank you.
Ms. Ivy, thank you. So are there any abstentions? Are there any no votes? Your resolution approved, Ms. O'Neill.
Thank you.
Do we have any other matters that need to come before the MARTA board today? Okay.
I apologize. This is a comment, Alicia Ivy. I just wanted to say to the board and to our fellow colleagues that I had the opportunity to visit with everyone virtually at the Writers Advisory Council, and it was absolutely excellent. And I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood what the wonderful work that they were doing on the Writers Advisory Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ivy. I was also on that call. I agree with you. They do a great job.
Madam
getting the
Chair.
word out. Yes.
Madam Chair, yes, I also have been on all of the virtual writer advisory meetings. It's an outstanding idea. It's outstanding to have the community involved. Those that are participating are extremely dedicated to making their experience and the community experience better. And so I would like to also second or third or fourth that, that the Writers Advisory Council meetings have been outstanding. Also, as a comment, I would like to say kudos, thank you, congratulations, and anything else that I could say to MARTA and the MARTA board, the MARTA family, for all that you did to help get voters to the polls this past election. I was able to share in DeKalb County with our elected officials, not only the commissioners, but also state senators and state representatives from the area, information that they could post to help their residents and constituents have access to rides to the polls for polls that were affected because of non-ridership. So I would like to say thank you for all that was done to make that experience. I also worked with several community organizations that had the information out there and was pushing it, such as the People's Agenda of Atlanta and many other organizations. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you,
Madam Chair, I will also echo the Writers Advisory call that I've been on. Has been very, very interesting and educational, informative. I think that it's a wonderful asset to MARTA. But I also want to say that I had an opportunity this week to participate with the MAC committee, the Mobility Advisory Committee, which is a hidden treasure for MARTA. And I think that they do awesome work as well. And I'm just very pleased to be a part of that.
Thank you, Ms. Salam. Do we have any other comments?
I'll just say that to Jeff Parker, how pleased we are to be able to extend your contract. So thank you for what you've done and what you will continue to do.
Anyone else? Thank you, and I hope everyone has a very nice day.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. In case we don't get a chance to talk.
Appreciate it, Madam Chair. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.